That's our cue to come on back. Come on down. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, David and Pam Stewart here with you once again.
Here we are.
It's been a couple weeks. Few.
Yes, we had a few things happen.
Technical difficulties last week.
Exactly.
Yeah, technical. We'll call them technical difficulties called a windstorm.
Yes.
Man, it was nasty too.
Very nasty. Knocked out our power.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I don't know where everybody's located at that's watching, but yeah, it was pretty rough. I think we got to like 65-mile-an-hour gusts that night. And we went out early. It was like before dark we had lost power. So
exactly.
we dropped off pretty early, 26 hours. So come or go. I mean, in this house, I don't remember it ever going out longer than that. Usually in this, the grid goes out and it goes out like late at night, and by morning it's back up again. But this time it was like down. It was down and out, and not to be heard of for some period of time.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we were out for from the afternoon all the way through the next day. Got a little cold in here.
Yes.
Had to go find a new place to hide.
Exactly. Thank God we had another place that we can go to.
Blankets weren't doing it, so we had to move out and evacuate for a little bit.
Yes.
And I'm getting cold just thinking about it. I'm like, oh man, we had to evacuate, but it was all good.
Yes.
We had a nice time.
Yes.
Came back the next night.
Exactly. Thank God my mom, she still had power, and she's only a 6-minute drive away from us.
Yeah.
So we went over there, and
still nothing like being at home.
Exactly. We had work to do, so we really needed to be home.
Yeah. So we came on back, but we missed the
Exactly.
show. It was right in the middle of that. So sorry we missed that and missed you guys, but we are back. See some people starting to come on, say hello to us, say something. Let us know you're out there.
Say
See Sister
something.
Latasha on.
Hey,
One
Latasha.
spot. Good evening, everybody. I'm seeing him in one spot and not another. Oh, there you go. Now
you
it's
are.
active. Good evening to you. So yeah, let us know you're there. And I got some things I want to talk about tonight as always, and you may have some things as well that are on your mind, some hot spots, some issues that you like to get some feelings out about. People come and get their feelings out.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Express yourself.
Yeah, they just get it out. They just,
Yes.
That's the thing about the internet these days. It's kind of separate. You separate yourself from your real personality.
Yes.
People get on and they just like, just let it all out. So I can't do it anywhere else. This is the place to kind of let it go. Just do it in a respectful way.
Yes.
And it's all good.
Yeah.
So, we have a lot that's been going on and going through transitions, as I'm sure everybody is. We're headed into Christmas.
Yes, we are.
So we're like 1 week away now. I'm so confused.
I know it. We have so much going on.
I've been dealing with things past, present, and future, literally.
Yeah.
So I'm like, which week am I talking about now? What is this? This is before Christmas still, right? Okay. Not New Year's yet. Okay, great. Oh, I forgot to put that up there. Yeah, we have a New Year's Eve service coming up too. I forgot to share that with everybody.
Okay.
And so that will be on. It will be pre-recorded, but it will be on for, of course, New Year's Eve about 10:30 on New Year's Eve night. We're actually producing all that down now for you. But great service that you can share in online with us. If you don't want to go out anywhere, if you're a little bit uncomfortable, if you don't have any place to go for service, we'll have a New Year's Eve service on for you here as well. That I pray there's going to be a blessing to you. So been working on that, working on all kind of other things that are happening. We're getting ready to travel, so this is going to be our last week on for the next few weeks as far as conversations. So we'll be off probably 3 or 4 weeks, something like that.
Yes.
While we go take care of some other things in another vineyard, and we will return back, I'm sure, with all excited and pumped up and tired.
And tired, yes.
We're gonna leave tired. We're gonna come back tired.
Exactly. We're exhausted right now.
It's not good
with
when
the planning process.
It's not good when the recovery is the travel. You're recovering.
You can't wait to get on the plane
where
you can just exhale.
Everybody's like, it's tired from the travel. The travel is when we recuperate during the travel for what we got next. So we'll be going, churning and burning and going back and forth and coming back, I'm sure, with more exciting things for you. So welcome again once everybody conversations. Don't forget to share. I see a couple people sharing this as well, so thank you for that. And I want to remind you as always that you can always go to our YouTube page if you want to keep up with what's coming out or when you're not sure if we've been on, when we're on. Go to the YouTube page, subscribe on that page. Just go on YouTube and type Conversations Pam and David.
Yes.
If you type Conversations Pam and David, this will show up. Go to the page, subscribe on it, and then whenever we post things, if you missed the live program, whenever we post it, you'll be able to get a notice
Right,
that
exactly.
it's going on.
Get an alert.
Right, it'll bring you right back to it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's talk about a few things here tonight that are going on. I didn't change much from what we were going to talk about last week because I think it's still pretty relevant.
Yes, it is.
And there's some interesting both issues that are happening, and I think both of these stories in particular share interesting points of view because your point of view can vary depending on what your thoughts are about this and kind of where you set with it. So in this particular case, we've got two cases that have been going on. One was just the verdict just came in on Jussie Smollett just before last week, and so that conversation is out there. And then the other one, forgot her name that quick. Kim Potter.
Kim Potter and Dante Wright.
That face just set it
Oh,
up.
I'm sorry.
Did you see that? Did y'all see that?
Was I that transparent?
That face just set it off. Y'all know where we going now, right? So Kim Potter is the other case that we're going to talk about. And again, it's a matter of perspective and what side of it you're on. So we'll find out as we go, I guess, where we stand on these things. But these are two cases that are, one is ongoing, Kim Potter's is ongoing, Jussie Smollett's was just settled. And it does bring a question of perspective as to what you think about what they're saying and, where you stand with it. So let's talk about Jussie first, okay?
Yeah.
Jussie Smollett just found guilty of... 5 out of 6 counts of disorderly conduct. And they called disorderly conduct what he was actually, I believe, found guilty of was filing a false hate crime.
Exactly.
Right? And so the result of that was that a jury 6 and 6, men and women, looked at the case, heard all the evidence, decided that they didn't believe his story.
Exactly.
And it was an interesting story to say the least. A lot of different things came out. The two people that ultimately were involved kind of turned against him. And this story really evolved. I don't know how many people remember it. It was over a year ago now, but he reported the fact that he had been attacked.
Right.
And originally he said there was somebody with a Trump hat on, and I don't remember whether I think he said that they were white, but wasn't sure.
Yeah, his story kept changing.
Yeah, that was the original story of what he was saying had happened, and so it had certain assumptions associated with it, with the Trump hat, and you remember all that was going on during that time. This was before, I think it was before January 6th thing, but it was still a time where there was just so much going on back and forth. Yeah, this was last year, so it was over a year ago. But it was so much unrest. The Black Lives Matter movement was very strong at that point in time. There was all these different cases that were coming up surrounding, wrong treatment of black people.
Right.
And, it was really a segregist time.
Yes.
Not that it's not now, but
yeah, it was really heightened.
Yeah.
I mean, it was at the height.
it was very escalated at the time. And so in the midst of this, all of a sudden this story comes out in Chicago about this young man who's an actor and is saying now that he was attacked on the streets by some people with a Trump hat, and they were very covered up, not exactly sure, but I think they were white people. 2 guys beat him up.
Yes.
All this
All
stuff.
that.
Had a noose and they put it around his neck.
Originally, yes, that's what he said.
This was the story. And so people were
yes.
wound up. Man, here we go again. Here's another one.
Yes.
What's going on here? And so it got a lot of people wound up. And then as time began to go on, more other details started coming out, right? And these two people, these two men, I don't remember exactly how they were brought forward, but they were somehow connected to this. I think the first thing that happened was there was some actual video footage from one of the cameras in the area that saw some stuff, and people were looking at it and they were like, wait a minute,
This
doesn't look
right. Doesn't add up.
Something don't look right here.
Yeah.
It don't look quite like what was being said. And so as they pursued it, they found these two men. These two men were actually in his life, and they began to question them, interview them. And so they then decided to say, hey, yeah, it was us. We were the ones that were there. We were the ones in the pictures.
Right.
But, we assaulted him but it was really more an acting deal of what we did to him than real. And we weren't trying to get him for anything. We were just, we were paid. Right, to do this with him. And yes, they had affiliation with him. Yes, they knew each other. Yes, they had worked together. Had done some gym work together. And so they acknowledged the relationship. And, you know, then Jussie comes back like, didn't know it was them, didn't recognize them. Yeah, I know these guys, but, you know, no way I told them to do this to me. No way they, you know, I wasn't directly involved. And, you know, the story just starts getting more and more questionable.
Exactly, because it kept changing.
The story is changing, and he's adjusting, and now these guys
trying to clean it up.
So now it's a matter of, you know, they think it's a hate crime for a sexual attack.
It went to that as well,
right? You know, because it's not white versus black. But
so
now he says, well, it must be, you know, they hated me because I'm homosexual, and therefore this must rationalize why the attack came. It's certainly based on that. Yeah, but you paid him money. Well, no, the money wasn't for that. The money was for, you know, working out. So you were close and working with each other, but yet now they hate you so much that they corner you in a dark alley out of nowhere and start beating on you. And I can imagine, you know, and they went through all this evidence and all these details. I can imagine the jurors being like,
this is just bizarre to me. It really is.
But, you know, it's got to be, they must have really been trying. I'm sure they were trying to rationalize what was being said. And then he got up and he actually testified. And I don't know that it really helped. Well, I'm probably pretty sure it didn't. Because, you know, most of the time, you're innocent until proven guilty.
Exactly.
I think when he got on that stand, it became a situation where he had to prove he was innocent.
Right.
By proving why his story made sense versus all the evidence that had been laid out. Right. So he was postured in that position where instead of you have to prove that I'm guilty, I let the case rest because this isn't sufficient. There's no case. He now has to prove his side of the story versus what they're implying the evidence says. And the evidence is giving all this indication of the fact that, well, you know, he knew these guys, even though he said something different. He changes stories multiple times. He goes on GMA, tells one story, and then he comes, you know, here now, and the story has changed, right? He said this noose was on his neck the whole time. Now he's saying, no, well, when they came back, when the police came to the door at my home, I put it back on because I wanted them to see what it looked like.
Yeah, there was just, who does that?
Who is going to put the noose back on? You know, I will show him the noose. This is what it was.
Yes.
I might even in front of him say, see, it was like this.
Right.
Who's going to show up at the door with the noose around your neck? No. You know, however many times or hours it was later.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, so.
Yeah, there was just so many inconsistencies. There were so many holes in his story that it was pretty simple.
I can just imagine the jury. I see Sylvester Singletary is watching us. Hey, man, good to hear from you. Glad you're doing better. Listen, I can imagine the jury trying. Okay, I'm trying to give this the benefit of the doubt.
Exactly.
I'm trying to find a way where this makes sense, and I can believe this. And you know me, I'm pretty optimistic, pretty trusting, right?
Yes, yes.
But even I'm listening to this, I'm like, come on, man.
Like,
I was like, come on, man. Really?
I'm like, are you really doing this?
Are you sticking to the story?
Are you really
claiming
what? No, I'm like, what are you doing? What is your purpose? Why are you telling the untruths?
Oh,
so many of them.
Because he's trying to,
I couldn't get it.
One lie leads to the next.
It just led to another, and it just snowballed.
And so you have to keep covering. You have to keep adjusting and changing. And
that's
shifting.
why you should always tell the truth.
Right.
Because he was trying to cover up each lie, and he just made it worse.
Right. So you start going down that rabbit hole, and you just got to keep changing your lie.
Right.
And
so
it makes you look
guilty.
Worse and worse.
Yes.
And so, you know, beforehand, and even while he was on the stand, you know, there were still questions. They were these questions come, why this? Why? And you know, you're still trying to adjust to fit, because he's trying to make a story that fits all the evidence that's out there.
Exactly.
If the stuff's not out there, you can make up your story and people have to believe whatever you say, right? But now you got this fact over here, and this payment over here, and this camera footage over here, and this you went on national television over here. You know,
and didn't he, a couple of talk shows too?
Well, that's GMA was
GMA
one of
was
them
a
he was
talk
on.
show,
At
exactly,
least,
exactly.
At least that one, if not others.
Right.
You know, so you've got all your public statements. So you've got to now try and get all these dots to cross, you know, and connect. And you're on, and you go on the stand, and now you really are on you know on the record here trying to live to say how this stuff fits together.
Right.
And you know, it put him in a rough place. I think he would have had to come across thoroughly convincing people without a reasonable doubt. It's the other way around usually. You have to convince without a reasonable doubt that he's guilty.
Exactly.
I think he had to convince people beyond a reasonable doubt that he was innocent. And people just weren't buying it.
No, but you know, here's what I need to know. What was his purpose? Why did he create and invent this huge bogus story? Why?
Yeah. Well, obviously we haven't heard that from him.
Right. What was the purpose? What was the motive?
Well,
why was it necessary?
The speculation is that he wanted to take advantage of the hot topic to get attention
for his career.
Right.
And he just ruined it. Right. Well, I mean, he was doing well. Yeah. He was on Empire.
It certainly it's going the opposite direction. It's going down.
So now it's So,
you know, I mean, so the only speculation was that the intent was to take advantage of what was going on at the time, and try and, you know, present for, you know, that you know, sympathy vote, if you will, of people that would then rally behind him and help get him more exposure. You know, again, like you said, why do you need to do that now? You have a role, you have national recognition, you have opportunity to take that role and expand for it. The why you would want to just throw yourself
out there
in the limelight to the top of attention in such a way
on something that is not true.
You know, I can only speculate that there was a part 2 coming. In other words, the reason you want to get this attention is because there's something else you're getting ready to try and do or present. Either you're going for a bigger role, or you're trying to get a spotlight ahead of somebody that's trying to consider you for something, or you got another goal in mind. I would hope that you don't do that just for that moment without a strategy of how you intend to use that to your advantage.
Well, you know, it seems basically like a publicity stunt.
Certainly.
Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
It was for the publicity, but it just ended up blowing up in his face.
It ended up, he got busted.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And, you know, again,
it was not a good plan.
I think our assumption is he really is guilty. If we did a poll right now, you know,
I would think so.
Now, keep in mind, there's still other people out there that are still standing behind him. There's a group called Black Lives Matter, BLM, grassroots.
Yeah.
And they now are kind of claiming to be the fundamental organized Black rights movement group, Black Lives Matter group, and they're standing behind him. And their rationale for standing behind him.
What is the rationale?
You want to know the rationale?
Yeah, really.
You really want to know?
Yes. What is the rationale?
The rationale for standing behind him? He's a black man in a white court system. That's the rationale. If they found a black man guilty in the white court system, then we can't believe him, so we're standing behind him. That's their rationale. That's the rationale. That's what they're saying. Is because he's a black man. The court systems aren't fair to black people, so therefore we're standing behind him. We don't care. So, you know, this is how you get into such division, right?
Yeah.
When we refuse to acknowledge when somebody's right or wrong. Based purely on either their politics or their skin color, you know, and therefore when we stand up that way, you got division. There's no way you're gonna overcome that.
And that makes no sense. I mean, for me, right is right, and wrong is wrong. I
mean, on the like fashion, we have to do things like say, look, some cops are bad. Some cops are not.
Right.
You can't throw everybody in the same bucket under the same bus and say everybody in the blue badge is a bad person and they have bad intentions. You can't say every white person is trying to get every black person or hold them down. You know, you have to treat things in accordance with what they are. If we all want to be in a fair playing field, then we have to treat things fairly in the playing field. You can't say that because y'all are pushing that way, we're going to push this way. No, we're going to push for what's right. Right? And so I would say in this case, you know, whatever did or didn't do, he was not able to prove that the story made sense.
Because it made no sense.
I don't think it made sense
I don't
really to any
see
of
how
us.
you could make any sense out of that.
For anybody who was watching this, and you can say he was bamboozled, they came up with this evidence, da da da, and he never denied that any of the evidence was true. I mean, you can't deny a videotape of GMA. You can't really deny it.
They
You said it.
replayed,
You said it.
replay.
You're like, no, they doctored the video. They changed my word. No, we all saw. That's what you said.
That's what
right?
you said. It's right here.
You know?
I have the video.
Yeah, so-
I have the tape. I know what you said.
Right.
You know, I have the text or
Right.
whatever. I know what you.
These guys who were your associates, your friends, looking up for you, hoping maybe you'd get them a job someday, suddenly turned on you and decided to attack you in an alley. There's just no logic for that whole. Plus, you paid them and they still attacked you. What, did you underpay them? You didn't pay them enough? I don't know what happened.
And then they turned and they said, "Well, we were paid."
Right.
So I mean,
well, not only did they say it, they have evidence of the payment.
Evidence of the payment.
He definitely paid them. He just said it was for something
Smollett.
different. So I mean, for people to line up against that much evidence says that you'll never believe a court case unless it's for your favor.
What did his defense? What could they have possibly come up with in order to prove him innocent?
Well, that's why they put him on the stand.
They put him on the stand because they had nothing else. They had nothing to go on.
Right. Now this is important because this concept of, look, it's only fair if it's in my favor is throughout our system and throughout the way we approach these. We've had several cases like this, and even in all honesty, we look at cases like the one we looked at a few weeks ago with the 3 men that accosted and killed Ahmaud Arbery, right? The sense that was there and the whole issue. Now, everything got twisted, which it does, because the lawyer, the defense lawyer there, brought these black pastors into it.
Yes.
And so that actually just, once he said that, nobody heard nothing, right? But the argument there was, you have a crowd and a surrounding of people that are impressing on the case of justice inside, that this will only be fair and right if they're found guilty. So that's the whole atmosphere around the court case. That does not help set up for a fair trial. It helps to set up to push and influence something in one direction, which is what the very bad defense lawyer should have made the point of.
Yeah.
But when he made it about them black pastors, we don't want no more black pastors around here. Gone. That whole thing.
It
gone.
just, yeah.
It was like, that's exactly why what we're telling you.
This is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I get it. I mean, it just brought everybody to that spot. But the argument of fairness and justice, we cannot be in a position where we say it's only fair if it happens the way we see it.
Right.
We have to be able, and we kind of get past it, but you look at other areas, and I don't know really of other areas that offer at least the structure of a more fair process. The concept is that you have 12 people who are peers.
Right.
And peers isn't necessarily peers of the person on the stand. It really should represent the society.
Right.
Because what this is about is society speaking out and determining whether this is fair or unfair. Now, there's all kind of ways people game the system, right? In terms of how they get that representation, and this one's biased, and this one da-da-da. We think this is a fair jury. Oftentimes it's not fair right from the jump. Get it, understand it. But it's the process that's designed. This is what the design of the process is to give us a fair representation of peers from that society, that community,
right,
that are going to look at this case and help try to rationalize whether what's being presented implies that this situation is guilty or not guilty under these charges. But, when you start influencing it too heavy in one direction, I mean, the same thing. If you've got a court case going on and the Ku Klux Klan is marching along the outside,
that's not a good. No,
that's going to influence in another direction.
Going to influence.
So if you're sitting in that jury, listen, if you're sitting in that jury and the Ku Klux Klan is marching around, and this happened, right?
Yes,
this happened
it has happened.
And they've got torches, right? It's getting dark, and the torches are coming out, and you're on the case, and they're like, this man ought to be not guilty.
Or else.
Yeah, I mean, that's pressure. That's influence. Even if you're not truly afraid for your life, it's pressure, it's influence to say, what am I really going to say here? What's the statement? Am I really going to...
So they felt like because the black pastors were sitting there...
Not just black pastors, by the way.
Well, clergy.
Well, even go beyond that. There was a huge crowd of people outside. I don't care whether they're black or white, that were blatantly on the steps saying, "We need justice. Justice needs to be served in this." And justice, by what they're saying, is assumed to be these men found guilty. Probably even said it, right? So they're pressing on the outside. And in fact, at one point, they were outside the windows of the jurors. And they can hear all this stuff going, which is why they moved them, right? Because all this stuff is outside saying, "We need justice, we need justice, we need justice." And that's imprinting that justice is only served if they look at the evidence and decide these men are guilty. If they look at the evidence and decide they weren't guilty, or one wasn't guilty, the other wasn't guilty, or they weren't guilty of these crimes, then justice hasn't been served.
Well, this is not the first time that something like that has happened.
Absolutely not.
You like you said, you can have the KKK or whatever white supremacists.
Right.
They can stand outside of a courtroom, and in fact, they can even storm the Capitol, and what have you.
Ooh, she went there.
Yes.
She went there,
yes,
y'all.
they can do those sorts of things, and really not be beaten or arrested. They're able to walk out, and be tried or whatever later on, but they came out in one piece.
Yeah.
But now,
Right.
when you find a people of color standing up for one another and for their rights, then it suddenly becomes a problem.
Man, I can't believe she went there on me. Yeah. It wasn't on me personally, but
It was a problem then.
Right. But that's the.
But
that doesn't.
but they want, it's a thought and a feeling that people of color are to be silent and they are to be quiet.
Right.
Well, we're living in a different era right now. This is not the same as it was when our parents and grandparents were growing up, when you didn't even get a chance to have a trial.
Right.
You are automatically
Just
guilty.
trial,
You're
jury,
you're
judge,
just
the whole
done.
deal. Right.
Exactly. So now that we are becoming more vocal and more present, it seems to be an issue.
But the point is, just because those people got away with those things in the past doesn't make it right.
No, it
I'm
doesn't.
talking about what really would be right and fair. So maybe we're talking ideal, right, versus real. But it's not right when the Ku Klux Klan does it,
No.
and it's not right either if you have a whole African American force outside pressuring in the opposite direction, saying there must be justice. And it's not right if you get both sides clashing and colliding and fighting outside.
Yes.
It puts all the pressure back on the juror who may be hopefully are trying to be fair in the case. And this is what it's about, being fair to what is being presented. You can have a whole lot of things, a whole lot of things go wrong in a court case. It was presented wrong.
Yes.
The evidence wasn't presented right. Some legal issue caused certain things that needed to be told in the story not to be told. You can have a jury pool that is biased and has been swayed in a different direction because somebody was smart enough to select the right people on their end versus the other. It's supposed to be the scales of balance. That's the intent. So each side is supposed to counter, right? Each side represents a different position, and ultimately judgment is somewhere in between, right? That there are times when the scale gets tipped in one direction or another because I had a better lawyer, or I had more money, or I had more influence, or I had a public figure that either worked for me or against me. But the idea, and you know how it is with a tipping balance like that, it's delicate.
Yeah, well, it's Tasha. You see what Tasha's saying, right? She said it the same as, like Trump saying, stand back and stand by.
Yeah. That's when you was talking.
That's what I was.
She was rolling with you on that one. Everybody else being quiet now. They just watching. Where's Genova when I need? Oh, he doesn't on my side either. So I need some more friends.
No, you know what? It's not a matter of right or wrong. It's a matter of voicing your thoughts or your opinion.
I still need more friends.
And
all your friends be showing up, and my friends be nowhere in sight.
Well, no, it's
I
not.
gotta work on that. I need a 2022 resolution.
No, babe,
I need some more
I
friends.
just think maybe more people might be thinking a little bit more like me.
Maybe.
I mean,
maybe not.
No, but you know what? Maybe
not.
This is where you and I have balance.
Right?
Yes. You kind of pull me back a little bit, and I'm a little bit like, come on, babe, you need to step up to this.
That's the whole idea. That's the whole idea.
That's,
but that goes
yes.
back to what we're just talking about, the balance. Something's in mind. Sorry. The balance and I want to go back to that point because the balances of justice are delicate. If you ever looked at one of those scales, you put just a little bit of weight on one side and it sways. And that's a lot of what happens in these court cases.
It is. It really is.
A little bit of leverage on one side or the other
Exactly.
can sway the whole persuasion of what happens.
Yes. See, because what the attorneys do is they try to find, it is their job to find that loophole. That loophole, that one thing that's going to give them that win.
Right. And again, reasonable doubt, right? If they can just push it one way or another, just a little bit, it can have a huge sway ultimately. And the other thing that really has come into light, I think, more is the judge's instructions. I didn't really pay as much attention to that in the past as I have lately.
Yes.
Because the judge determines definitions of some of the crimes, for example.
Exactly.
And they'll give them things that say, if you believe this, then this would define this.
You
crime.
have to exactly.
Right?
It's like if you're going to prove manslaughter,
right?
Then you have to prove that there was negligence or recklessness,
right? Or murder,
or exactly, or culpable negligence,
yeah.
or something like
all
that.
All these details.
So now, what I've noticed is that the judges are now actually reading out and spelling out.
Very much so.
Everything.
Very much so.
Exactly. Where before they didn't do that, not openly and publicly.
Well, those definitions make a huge difference.
Yes, they do.
And then because now the jury is accountable to go back and measure their guilty and not guilty by those definitions. If those definitions sway, and by the way, those definitions for the same crimes can change state per state. So murder in one state is not the same as murder in another state. And in fact, all different types of murder. You hear all these. It used to be just murder 1, 2, 3, but now malicious murder. They have all these different variations of it, and it can vary per state. And then what is required to prove that or evidence that is very particular. And so what the judge says in terms of those definitions, there are times when jurors will go home frustrated because I'm like, I know they were guilty of something.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't fit any of the definitions of these particular accusations that they have charges against them.
Right.
And so, well, did they charge them for the wrong thing? Are we saying there really isn't a rule for that? How is it that this is missing the mark? Right. It's a very interesting thing. So
that's where they try to find that loophole.
Yeah. Because they'll say, no.
This does not apply.
It wasn't intent here, and we can prove it wasn't intentional, so that doesn't apply. It wasn't this, You know, and when it really influences ultimately where these cases go.
They go. Yes.
You know, so I want to switch because we had some good conversation rolling in that one, but there's another one up here that I think we want to talk about. This part 2 of this, and that's this Kim Potter case, which is going on now. Yeah, some of us we got some more issues on this one.
Yes.
As well. So this is Kim Potter. This is her as a police officer. Most of us know this story now. You know, there was a stop on a young man. What's his name?
Dante Wright.
Dante Wright. Thank you.
Yes.
And Dante apparently had some warrants. This is a weird rule. I forget what was this, Michigan?
This case happened in Minnesota.
So he was stopped because he had an old tag, which apparently is in the rear window there, and he had, or maybe it wasn't, but he had a air freshener in the rear window, and there's apparently a law against having an air freshener in your rear window.
No, I have heard that. I have heard that before.
Why?
I mean, actually, you don't see people with air fresheners too much in their, in the front of their car, or really anything hanging from that mirror.
But why is there a law?
But they stopped him on that.
Why? But why is there a law
to
have an air freshener in your rear window? Can anybody please explain to me why there's a law that you can't have? What if I want to keep my rear window fresh?
You gotta put it on the dashboard.
There's some stuff going on back there, and I need to keep the rear window fresh. People sitting in the back seat. I don't want to hang in the front of them. I want to insult them, so I put it behind them. Why can't I have my air freshener
In my
in
car.
my rear window. I don't understand
I
that
don't
whatsoever.
get it.
Yeah,
But you know,
but people hang them in the front. But there's a law, and I don't
you
know.
can't hang them in the front.
I wonder if that's a law here. Well, they still hang them in the front. People
But you're
still
not
do it.
supposed to.
But is that a law?
Yes.
What about the bouncing dog? I can't have a little
You-
dingling dog there
you're-
either.
Well, they've made it a law.
I
So,
don't know.
mean,
I don't. I understand.
there are a lot of things on the books
I mean, I kinda
as
get-
laws that we have to question.
I kind of
why.
get the front window because it's distraction.
Exactly.
Right? The rear, I don't know what
could
the
be an
rear window's got to
obstruction.
do. Anyway, let's
Anyway.
move on. So he got stopped because he had this air freshener in his rear window.
And also, wasn't the the license expired? That
What are you
something
stopping
was-
me for, officer?
You
Well,
got an
you
air
have an air
freshener in the
freshener in your rear
window.
window, so he pulls you over for that. I've been scratching my head every time I hear. I'm like, what? Anyway, I'm trying to move on. I'm trying.
Yeah,
So he
yeah.
got pulled over. What were you saying? What else?
Wasn't there something going on with the license or the tag?
Well, there was a tag. The
It-
tag was probably expired. You know how it is.
Yes.
It's different in different states. Sometimes they're
Right.
different colors, things like that. Our registration tag
Yes.
is in the front window.
So there was a warrant out.
Well, they didn't know that till after they stopped him.
They stopped
him, and then they found that there was a warrant, I think, for a misdemeanor,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so they have him out the car already. And when he hears this, they want to take him in. He's like, oh, no, I ain't going. And so instead of letting him put in cuffs, here's issue number 1. Anytime you fight the cops when they're going to take you in, I don't care whether you think it's a good reason, a bad reason, you are going to lose. You're going to lose. There's no way you're just going to just walk away from that. It doesn't get better. It only gets worse. If you get away, they come in to get you. And they bring in dogs. And they bring in helicopters.
And they're bringing guns.
Guns.
And tasers.
It's only going to get worse. So whether you think it's justified or not to resist the officer, he may be the dirtiest dog. She may be the most hateful thing in the world. If you resist them, you're giving them an excuse.
Well, you know what? You're giving them an excuse. But however, even when people don't resist,
Right.
they're just in a bad situation.
It's a bad
from the
situation.
top to have any type of for people of color to have any type of interaction with the police. So he shouldn't have tried to run, but I can understand the fear.
The fear is right.
The fear is real.
Because the reality, and this is reality, that there are people who have not resisted.
Right, exactly.
And gotten in cuffs and gotten in cars
And end up
still
dead.
end up choked out.
Exactly.
Right? Or still end up beaten. We've seen those stories.
We have.
So I understand the fear.
Yes.
But I'm saying you don't make your odds any better by resisting. They only get worse.
This is true. This is
The
very
only,
true.
The only, I don't even want to go there. It just gets worse for you.
It
Right?
does.
And, so you're not going to become some major, runaway criminal that's going to hide and you're going to run over the border and nobody's going to, it's just inevitable. So the best thing you can do is conform, be quiet, keep your head low, let them take where you take you.
And pray.
And pray.
And pray
Until
that
you
you
get
can
back.
live through
Right.
this.
Because until you get back into a public environment where now you are in public view again, you are at high risk. Until you can get to where I can get a lawyer down there, get somebody speaking on my behalf, get somebody knowing where I'm at and what's going on, you are at high risk.
You're at high
and
risk
the best thing you can do
from
is
the beginning.
just be as quiet and as calm as you possibly can. If you get a chance to get your phone on, either take a picture, get a number, let somebody know what's going on, where you're at. Leave the phone on the side. But do not fight and resist because it gives them just an excuse.
An excuse
Right.
to do what they want
Well,
to do.
the whole concept of training is you fight force with bigger force. So the more you resist, the greater the force. Hey, we need more reinforcements. We get more people in. They're just going to build up the
And build it
force
up.
against you.
Yes, it's true.
Inevitably, you're going to lose. And so that just it rationally. I know emotionally it's one thing, but rationally doesn't work. So they're in this situation, and so now he's trying to get back in the car. He's trying to get out of there, right? They're trying to hold him. They're trying to pull him out, keep him out. They're losing that battle. So Officer Potter, who is a training officer, supposedly very experienced, is part of this trying to get him out. She pulls out what we now know to be her gun. She calls for taser, right? In other words, that tells the other folks that are in this, get your hands off of him because I'm about to shoot him with this taser, and the shock is you don't want to get the shock. So when they report taser, it's to pull everybody back. She pulls out, instead of a taser, which is on her right side, she pulls out the gun, which I believe is on her left side, and she fires the gun. Gun pop goes off. Everybody around is like, what just happened? Right? The guy, everybody backs off. The guy goes in the car, he takes off. Now, my understanding, if I'm right, is that she only shot one time. She didn't shoot multiple times. You would only shoot a taser, boom, one time, right? Police officers, when they're trained, if they shoot, they're shooting multiple times.
Okay.
There's no police officer out there that fires a gun one time at somebody, and they're supposedly firing because they feel there's a threat for their life. By the way, this had no threat of life. There was no reason to use a gun. He was not fighting them. He was trying to fight to get away from them. So there's no reason to use a gun here. She says taser, she pulls out her gun. She shoots, I believe, one time. I've only heard an incident of one shot. Everybody pulls back, and the guy takes off. Obviously, that shot is fatal. But here's the question as to whether this was intentional or whether this was a mistake. Now, we see here that this is her immediately after this takes place. We've seen pictures of her on the ground, fetal position, crying. I shot him. Oh my gosh, what just happened?
What happened? I'm going to jail.
Right. I'm going to jail.
I'm
right?
not laughing. But,
we've seen these pictures of her, what she looking like, as she's actually testifying in her defense. This felt the feeling is she needs to express her story to help convince people as to why this was really an accident and not intentional. And so, the prosecutor came against her and, aren't you trained for this? Aren't you supposed to be special in this? Don't you repeat this? Because you want these things to be natural reactions in the midst of these. I sympathize with the fact these are high stress moments, right? There's a lot going on real quick. And so that's why they're supposed to be trained to work by instinct, because there's a lot there to try and rationalize in your head and think about. You need to pull the right thing by instinct. So she pulled the wrong thing. The question is whether was it intentionally or whether was it unintentionally.
Okay. She is a 26-year.
26 years.
She was on the police force for 26 years. She is a police veteran. Yep. She actually trains.
She's a trainer.
She's a trainer.
In fact, one of her trainees was involved.
The trainee made the phone call. Not the phone call. The trainee made the arrest. Okay. Yep. So how are we training these people as well? She's training and she's pulling out a gun instead of a taser.
It's a bad thing.
Bad thing. So you don't. Working on the police force for 26 years and you don't know the difference between or what side your gun is on versus the taser, that is not very good. That's not good.
I agree.
Because you know what? Any other officer could say the same exact thing.
Yeah.
And for a person to be on the police force for that amount of time
and make a mistake
like that, that's crucial.
It is. And now, the reality is, these things happen 1,000 times a day. Will a mistake eventually happen? Probably, right? Somebody's going to make a mistake.
They're in high-stress situations all the time. It's a high-stress job.
I'm not saying that excuses it 100%. But the real question here is a question of intent, and that's the question to the jury that they have to deal with. What was the intent here? Was it intentional? Was it a mistake? Because that's going to metric what she is charged, what she is found guilty of. I don't think there's any way she's going to be found not guilty. She did it. She did something. We all know she did it, right?
Yes.
The question is, was it intentionally done or was it done by accident? Because even if it's not murder, it's still manslaughter. It's still homicide.
It's still manslaughter. Exactly.
She killed a man.
She killed a man, and therefore the but-for clause can come into effect. Dante Wright would be alive, but for the fact that you pulled the gun instead of a taser.
Right.
So
and she's
going to get some type of time.
Yeah.
She should.
She was in the position of authority here. She was also the trainer here. So she absolutely bears responsibility for her actions. The intent really is the question. I'd be curious to know whether she's right or left-handed. I don't know if they've asked that question, because I would assume in a stress situation, your dominant hand would be the more natural one for you to pull. And if the gun was on her left side, which I believe it was, and I believe the taser's on the right, if she's left-handed, it would actually draw me even more so to believe that it was probably a mistake and a gut reaction, though a bad one. If she's right-handed and she pulled her left gun, that would make me question whether it was a mistake.
Did she cross over?
Because, typically, I think if you're going to make a mistake, you're going to make it towards your dominant, what comes natural to you. If I write...
Like you're left-handed.
Yeah, if I throw with my left hand, if you spook me, my left hand is what's coming out because it's natural for me, right? If I was right-handed, it would be my right hand that's going to respond. If I'm going to protect myself, it's more likely going to be my left hand that's going to come up because that's my dominant. It's my natural response. And so I would really want to know, and I don't know if they've asked the question, but I would be finding out if she's left-handed or right-handed. Because if it's a mistake that she made, it should probably align with her dominant hand. If it doesn't align with her dominant hand, she went against her dominant hand to make a mistake, then mentally she crossed over in that mistake, and that wouldn't make any sense to me. So we'll be, you like that, huh? Interesting. So, we'll see what happens, but, ultimately she's responsible. She's liable for it.
Yes, she's responsible.
There certainly will be lawsuits even beyond this, beyond criminal on this. The real metric, I believe, in this case is to decide whether the people decided this is intentional. Man, we got more people coming. Why do people always come on when we're almost ready to get off? Y'all gotta go back and watch the whole thing. I see y'all coming on, but we've had some good conversation.
Yes.
The question really is going to come down to whether they believe, based on the evidence of what happened, that she intentionally did it or unintentionally did it. There's a lot that says it would make reasonable sense that this was unintentional. But yet, there are other reasons and rationale. You have to get in her background, right? Was she racist? Did she behave in certain ways outside? Did she have a thing for black people or for dark-skinned people, whatever the case may be? People have to investigate all that as part of the case and decide whether there was motive for her to have done this. Was she just excited in the moment?
Oh, she's excited. She's definitely excited.
Yeah. So
just doing too much. No.
Doing too much. Doing the most.
Doing the most.
It will be determined to be determined. I think this case will be ending next week, I would guess, and we'll see what happens with this. But this is another one of those things where people get on the side of it based on our background. We want to say, "Oh yeah, she did. I know she did it. You've been just waiting for that." And other people are like,
but
"Well,
you really can't say that."
And other people are like, "I don't know.
But
why would she do that? She
Yeah.
risked her career over this." Da, da, da. So, but this whole pressure we've been talking about being on a side versus on the side of justice and right. We tend to push it. We have that immediate impulse that pushes it towards our own assumptions about things, and to really become objective as a society is really important. So it's another one we'll be watching, to be determined. If you guys have any comments, feedback, we're here. Love to hear it. And then I think we're gonna shift one last time here to the other thing that's been happening, and that's the coronavirus that continues to rage now through the new Omicron. We've been watching this, and it changes every week because there has been just so much going on with this, but we've seen another rise of another variant of the virus here in the United States. We really haven't truly seen the impact of it yet, but in other places where it is out, and it's out again everywhere. I mean, this is one of the cases on this. I was telling somebody the other day, by the time they hear about these things, by the time we hear about it, it's already gone.
Yep. Yeah. It's already
the genie's already
out the bottle. Yes.
You watch with what they said about when President Biden said, "Okay, we're gonna put restrictions on travel." We're announcing this week. We heard about it the week before. So then now this week we're announcing that as of next week we're gonna start restricting travel. By the time you get to next week, it's already here.
Right.
I mean, by the time he announced it, I think it was 24 hours after he announced it, they're like, "Well, we found our first case out West Coast, and the next couple of days, now it's in New York." It's everything that we are doing with this virus, and this is what really is frustrating to me. Everything that we're doing against this virus is always after the fact. We're constantly behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
By the time we convince people to take it to the next level. Now, the funny thing is, again, vaccination rates are starting to go up again. Right?
That's a good thing. I mean,
Yeah,
in my opinion,
it is a
everyone
good
doesn't
thing.
agree with that,
But it's after, people now, okay, now you, I'm sorry, now you want to get vaccinated. People been telling you for how long, you need to get vaccinated.
You need to get vaccinated.
No, not going to do it. Well, now maybe, I don't know, I think I better go ahead and get this. This is why you can't stop this. This is I'm not trying to be negative to people, but this is why you can't stop it. Is because we're always responding after the fact. And this is so big, it's so global, it's so moves so quickly. If we don't, and it's not even just a country, because we could slam down this country and say, look, everybody's getting vaccinated. I don't care. You don't like it, we're going to jail. Everybody's getting vaccinated in the next 2 months, period. Boom. Bring your kids, line them up, right? Even if we did that, because there's so much it's going all around the world. Wherever that weakest link is, it shows up. And it spreads. Unless you're going to completely shut down world travel, world economy, and unless you're going to completely unite across the world. And by the way, this is every religious person's biggest nightmare. And I'm going to say again, I really don't believe this is end time as we see it in Revelations, but this is exactly why end times, the stuff that we see is going to work and happen.
Okay.
We're seeing right now why what we see in the Bible about end times will happen. It tells us that in the end times about this, everybody's worried about, the receiving the mark, the beast and all that. All the calamity that you see in Revelations is way worse than what we're going through right now.
Yes.
This is a fraction. This is a prelude. This is the preview.
Yes, exactly.
Of what Revelations talks about. And when that happens, it will incentivize countries and governments and leaders to say, look, we got to work together. In Revelation, it's talking about 1/3 of the world population being killed all at once. We're not just talking, we have, getting close to 1 million here, like 800,000 people in the United States have died of coronavirus for the past 2 years.
Yes.
We're talking billions of people dying at once. When that happens, they are going to be incentivized to say, look, people, freedom is out the window. We got to stop this thing. We got to work together. And guess what? Everybody's going to have to get this or that. Everybody's going to have to take this. We're going to have to control food. You look at what's happened. The economy has gone off. We're going to freeze prices. It's going to be more communist than you've ever imagined.
Exactly.
We are going to, oh, yeah, man, you missed it. Yeah, we see you. We see you. Oh, you missed a good one. I gave you an alert.
I tagged you.
Yeah,
you must have been busy.
Yeah, you're going to have to play this one back because we've had some good ones going here. But, we're talking right now about this virus again. We're back to the virus. When Revelations truly comes to pass, and I believe it will, the end times truly comes to pass, the pressures that are going to be on to try and stop this are going to unite the world to the point where the world is going to say, we're going to have to control. And you look at the things that they're dealing with now. They're looking at inflation. They're looking at the economy. They're looking at the balance, everybody running stuff out of all the Wegmans and out of all the Walmarts.
All the toilet paper.
So you got to manage all the stuff, supplies, all these things.
Rationing out how many you can have. Yeah. One bottle of Lysol, and that's it, if you can find it.
This is the whole reason for the mark that everybody's afraid of.
The mark.
This is why it will make sense. This is why tracking your money, this is why tracking your location are all going to become necessary in Revelations.
It is. Our telephones, this is a tracking device.
Tracking device.
It's what it is.
These IDs, these you got trackers in your phone. Now those are small wavelengths, but they're talking about the next generation, the next level would be to have a tracker on the person. Because then they can't steal your card. They can't do this. They can't do that. It's with you wherever you are. And they'll talk about, oh, it's so convenient. You don't have to worry about international travel anymore. You have your card right with you everywhere. You can't lose it. Nobody's going to steal it unless they cut off your hand or your leg or your nose or whatever. There's going to be all these rationale for why this stuff makes sense. But we're feeding right into it now as we deal with this through coronavirus, because people don't trust anybody and they don't want to be forced to do anything. Right. And so the resistance is causing these inflated rates. But like we're saying, now people want to be vaccinated again. Okay, I guess this is real and serious. You know how long people went without even acknowledging that this was real?
Yeah.
No, it's just
some
it's
of them
fake news.
They didn't
It's
acknowledge it
not
until they
real.
were on a ventilator, if
Yeah.
they survived it.
How many of us had friends and family members that were suddenly sick and in the hospital on ventilators and dying, and yet people refused to believe
Exactly.
that this
Some
was
people
real?
lost their whole family.
It's terrible. It's terrible. And then people
whole
look at them and
families.
say, they're actors. That's not real. It's an anomaly. And then it's like, well, I'm going to be okay. I'm not worried about it. But, it's all this mindset of instead of working together and not trusting has caused us and will cause us to get to a point where you have to force people to do stuff.
I have heard people say, well, everyone in the house they've been vaccinated. You've been vaccinated, and I'm not vaccinated. So, but you all are vaccinated, so I'm
safe.
fine.
Right. Kathy Hochul, the now governor, I'm finally starting to get used to it. Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York State, said that if people had gone ahead and gotten vaccinated, I wouldn't have had to make a mask mandate.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So since people won't look at things from a rational perspective, and people don't trust, and I'm not knocking you if that's your choice. The thing I've always said about that is if that's your choice, then you have some responsibility.
You still have
If you
responsibility.
decide you're not going to get vaccinated and you're going to take the risk of being out and exposed, you're exposing yourself, you're potentially exposing those around you, a chain reaction. You have to bear accountability for that.
Right.
So you have to treat that and live in a certain way to not only help protect yourself, but to protect others. If you're not going to be vaccinated, then you have an account. Don't show up in the middle of 5,000 people unmasked saying, "Hey y'all, what's happening? Y'all, I'm here with y'all." Don't go to these concerts,
all over people.
These concerts and stuff. Man, it's just people just want to have they want to do what they want to do. Just want to do what they want to do, regardless, right? And there has to be some alignment and accountability along the line. You gotta play it back, bro. You gotta play it back because now I'm sleepy. It's changed up in the basement. No, man. I'm glad they let you out. Certain person in the house. We're gonna pray for that person.
You had to finish up a project.
Yeah, we're gonna pray for that person.
Oh, don't talk about projects. We understand completing projects.
Yeah,
we have
we
had
just
so
completed
many.
a couple ourselves.
Yes.
So you can play it back because we did some good stuff in here. And share it. Y'all share it too. Share it with somebody. Our time is up. And we still got miles to go tonight. So we are going to wind this up. But by all means, please share it. You make sure and go to the YouTube page. We keep telling you this. That's another way to catch up with it.
Yeah.
Subscribe to the page. Go to YouTube and just type in Conversations, Pam and David, and you'll see the page.
Yes.
Subscribe to that page. And listen, you'll get these reminders. You'll get these heads up when these things are released. When we upload it, you'll get a notice. You can go back there and you can see you can get a whole, you can get weeks and weeks worth of these that you can go back to and talk about the different conversations we've had. So make sure and check that out. Share all this with somebody. We appreciate you helping and support to get the word out. And hope you've enjoyed it. Now listen, I said at the beginning, we're going to be gone. Genovo, we're going to be gone.
Yes.
Not only did you miss today, but we're going to be gone for like the next 3 or probably 4 weeks.
Yes,
I think we're going to be gone.
For a while.
We got some stuff to do. We got some ministry we got to take care of.
Exciting things.
So we're going to be gone. And so y'all better go subscribe to that page so you can get your fill while we're gone of conversations.
Yes,
and
you can catch up.
Yeah, we will be back. But we got to, how dare you? Oh man, we promise we'll come back. We love you, man. So we got to do some stuff with some other folks and try and take care of some other ministry. But ministry will continue on here through the church as well. By the way, this Sunday is our Christmas Sunday.
Yeah.
So come and hang out with us tomorrow. We always do the Sunday before Christmas. So Christmas, I believe, is Saturday, right?
Yeah. Well, we won't be here.
So we are doing Christmas Sunday this Sunday. We invite you to come. We got lots of stuff for the kids. The kids are going to be involved in the program of the day as well. Got a great word for you about Emmanuel. God is with us. And so join us tomorrow for that 11:30. You can come. Yes, I know coronavirus is still going on, but we have been vaccinated. The vast majority of our people, we are still in masks, vaccinated or not.
Yes.
Sanitizing. We have hand sanitizer at the door, checking people's temperatures, doing everything we can to keep everybody safe in the midst of what's going on. You need that connection. So come and join us tomorrow. And we're going to be continuing on as well throughout on Wednesdays, our midweek Bible study. We have a series that we are working on. And by the way, we got a New Year's Eve service coming up too. And so all these things happen. The series we're starting now. Actually, this week, I'm so screwed up. This week is still Christmas. So we'll be talking about Christmas both tomorrow, Sunday, and Wednesday this week. Sorry, I'm all over the place right now. Wednesday, we're talking about from Matthew about Emmanuel on Sunday, and then we're talking about his name Jesus, for he shall save his people from our sins. Both of those come out of the same passage of scripture, and so his name Emmanuel on Sunday, and Jesus on Wednesday. So join us for all of that this week. And then we're going to be going into a series as we head into the end of the year. And that series has to do with spiritual maturity. I believe that this is the calling for us in 2022. And so for those of you who are church folks out there, come and join us. Stay connected Wednesday nights from December 29th all the way through the end of January. Also, we'll be in consecration throughout the month of January. We'll be hearing more about that. Prayer and fasting is a time to get ourselves in alignment with what God wants to do. All right, so God bless you, everybody. Y'all have a good night.
Yes.
Hope to see you in the morning.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to celebrating. Jesus is the reason for the season. So, okay,
Yes.
join us tomorrow, and we will get together and have a good time. Everybody have a good night. We'll see you. Got to go get ready for round 3 of stuff that's got to get done tonight, including dinner. We got to eat.
Yes, I know.
Eat,
Exactly.
yes.
Well, it's all prepared.
So we're going to eat and then keep working. All right, have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night, everyone. God bless.
We'll see you now. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Here we go.
Whether it's in the courtroom